Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another team selection video on Fantasy Football Scout. We decided to do it live because we're little bit pushed for time. Gianni has very nicely, literally just got to his hotel room, set everything straight up, and jumped on to do this video. How are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm good. It was nice. I've just had a long drive, and when I'm on those long drives, I'm often thinking FPL. I've got TalkSpot on in the background, and I'm thinking FPL. So it was a nice journey down to London.
So you're perfectly ready to start talking about transfers, captaincy, how you did last week, which was really good. There's been a massive rank rise actually for you over the last 4 weeks, which we'll talk about in just a second. We have partnered with Fantasy 5. If you've not already checked this out, there was 3 winners last week, 3 joint winners. Really simple to play. You've just got to pick 5 players for 5 different matches. And hope that they beat their points target, which you can see on screen. So Joelinton, if you happen to want to go for him, he has to get more than 6.5 points. If he gets 7 or more, he's a winner. Then you pick a player for the next game, etc. Link in the description below. Completely free to sign up. And I'll show you my picks at the end as well. All right, let's jump into last week for you. Gameweek 27. 81 points with no hit, which is great. And you're up to 655k, which it's about 1 million in 4 weeks. I looked earlier. It's not. I haven't got the exact number to hand, but it's about 1 million. So you must be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, no, I was pretty pleased with the week. It was one of those. Seeing Kane bang was great as I owned him, and he wasn't over 100% ownership. But annoyingly, a couple in my mini league had captained him, so I was a bit like, oh no, have I done the right thing? And then I just went into that final City game going, all I want is one return from Gundogan. If he gets an assist, I'll be happy. So for him to score and for Foden to get 3 assists, I was delighted. Cancelo benching means nothing to me because everyone has him anyway. So I was all right about the Cancelo thing, and I was just delighted Foden played. Those two linked up so well, Andy. The Gundogan Foden combination could have led to 2 or 3 goals and possibly a penalty if Gundogan had taken
It
it.
should have been a penalty, right?
I don't get that.
Honestly, obviously, you've got to get off. We got to get off this video. Like, we can't spend another hour. But I reckon we could talk about an hour about VAR. Like that. That is just a joke. There was still people tweeting me last night saying I got some of the ball. Like, it just, how can you look at that and say that it's not a penalty? It's about as stone wall as it gets. So, yeah, I mean, but this is the story with Foden. He plays. Yeah. He's brilliant. Then he gets benched. Why is that?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? About 3 or 4 weeks ago, he got a really nice run of games, and that was when I wildcarded and bought Foden in. I think it was from 6 games he had played in 5 of them, but literally since I've owned him, he's been anonymous. I do think it could have been Pep giving him kind of a little break in the middle of the season for him. I do think he's important, and I think he's perhaps more important than people in the Twitter community give him credit for. Would I say he's absolutely first name on the team sheet in the first 11? No, of course he's not, because we just don't know Pep's first 11. But in some of the big games, Pep does go with Foden, and I do think after last night he'll see that the formation they played with KDB and Foden so high and think the combination play between them was brilliant. I wouldn't be surprised to see Foden getting another good run. My plan was always to sell him this week. I only wanted Foden, as I said on the team reveal last week, for the doubles because of the rotation risk. But at the moment, at that price, I just have to keep him in for the Fulham fixture. Maybe not beyond because he doesn't play in blank 29. But I've got to give him one more week, Andy. He was just so good last night. And I know it'd be typical Pep to bench him, but I do think he'll start against Fulham off the back of that. And he's fresh. He's barely had any game time in the last month. So he's ready to go. And at that price, there's no one better, arguably, because he's in the team that score the most amount of goals. And also, if he is rested, there's a good chance he doesn't come on. Pep's not been using all of his subs. He's been averaging like 1.5 subs a game recently. So I'm happy if Foden doesn't come on, I'm going to have a good bench. So no, I was fairly happy with City. They did me well for once.
Yeah, especially after the first game when they did nothing. But yeah, to come back and score 5 against Southampton wasn't really, out of the realms of possibility, really, given how good they are and how poor Southampton have been. I thought Southampton gave them a pretty good game at times, but to concede 5, like, obviously you're never in it there. And yeah, Foden was brilliant. So looks like a really good pick. As you said, Kane outscoring his double game week 26 score by a mile. Fernandes chipping in with a penalty as well in that first Man City game.
Didn't expect that one, did we? We expected a Man City clean sheet, and they didn't get one clean sheet in their double. But then also Bruno getting 10 points, like out of nowhere, he just gets a 3 bonus, doesn't he? If he scores, he gets you 3 bonus.
Yeah,
9 times out of 10.
he's always high up there. Always. I think he might have. Yeah, I think he got 2 bonus this time, but still.
Oh, was it 2?
Yeah, it was 2 because he got the clean sheet. That's why it's up to 10. But
Cool.
you're right, 2 or 3. Like any time he scores, because Man United don't always go on to score like 4 or 5 goals like City, so this bonus doesn't get spread so much. So yeah, really good play for really good points from him as always. Let's look at game week 28. So not a double, not a blank. Feels like it's been a while since we've said that. So just a normal week. And as you said, you've got Foden, but you've got a pretty decent bench. Target, Rafinha, Lowton all on there. I don't know where to start here. Defence, you must be feeling pretty confident about some clean sheets, even before we talk about attacking returns. Like surely all 3 of those players start. 3 good fixtures for clean sheets, surely.
Yeah, and Matt Target, Andy. I've played around with this. I had 4-3-3 for a while. Who can Matt Target, for me, because I don't own Martinez, I always feel very nervous about not owning Martinez if Target's on my bench, because then I'm losing the 7 or the 10 points Martinez gets. But I don't lose those points if I've got Target in my 11. And I fancy Villa to keep a clean sheet against Newcastle. Come on, it's Newcastle without Callum Wilson. How can I get Target into that 11? In a way, I'm hoping Cancelo's benched, or I'm hoping Gundogan's benched, which I think I wouldn't be surprised if either of those things do happen. Maybe Gundogan's due the break. So in a way, I'm hoping I get at least one of my subs on, and it'll, even Rafinha, it's not the worst fixture in the world because Leeds will score goals against anyone. And if any player is due a haul, it's Rafinha. Arguably Watkins 2, arguably Pereira 3. I've got 3 players who I feel like are massively due. But yeah, that back line's looking good, isn't it? I mean, Luka Dean's been good. Pereira still hasn't got me anything in the 4 weeks I've had him, which is annoying because I was between Pereira, Maitland-Niles and Shaw. And Maitland-Niles and Shaw have produced some nice returns. Pereira's getting me 1 point every week. But yeah, this has to be the week. If he doesn't do it against Sheffield United at home, Pereira probably has to go for me.
Yeah, anyone can get a clean sheet against Sheffield United, so I think you'll probably be okay there. Like, it's one of those weird situations where if you told me you were putting Rafinha ahead of Target on the bench, I would say, yeah, that makes sense. But also, if you play Target, that would also make sense. So, like, it's a weird situation. I agree. I think I'm a Martinez owner. But Newcastle attack is just so poor. I can't. I wish I could remember the tweet now, but it was. I think it was the last game. Out of everyone that started in that game, Hendrick was the joint top scorer with 1 goal or something like that. Because obviously people like Callum Wilson and that are injured. They just don't have many goals in that team. So, but then who'd you bet? If anything, it'd be freaking Cancelo, and that doesn't even make sense, does it? Because he and Man City are so good. So yeah, it's tough. I think like Luka Dean, Everton always feel like they've got the knack of just losing the clean sheet, but Burnley aren't very good in attack, and we know how good Luka Dean is himself. So yeah, you got to trick. That's the problem with. Problem's the wrong word, but you know what I mean. The problem with recently wildcard and having a good squad, you got to make these decisions. So yeah, I think you're looking pretty good there. I don't. I wouldn't be worrying too much.
Recently wildcarded and recently bench boost. This is like a very obvious team that's just bench boost, right? It's like that bench for me is too good. I need to downgrade a couple. I'm going to have a headache every week with Rafinha as my 8th attacker.
Yeah.
Ideally, I want Rafinha as my 7th attacker, So, yeah, it's a difficult one. But this week, I think that probably is the lineup I go with. I just don't quite know if I'm going to be able to shoehorn Target in. But in a way, as I say, one of those City players hopefully doesn't play at all. If I dropped and played 10, I'll be really annoyed.
Yeah, usually we don't do this live, so obviously I can see the chat as we're talking. So we don't really have time doing these videos to answer all the questions in the chat. But I see some people are saying bench Watkins. Absolutely not. Target on the bench is madness. Benching Target is wild. I respect that. I tell you what, right? We'll carry on discussing. Let me know in the chat who is supposed to be benched. The answer is not Ollie Watkins. I'll tell you that. Not against Newcastle. No way. Let's actually just talk about captaincy early because we usually leave it till last. But I think this is a week where I would say there's not a standout. I think people are struggling this week to make a decision. I think the narrative is always when there's not a standout, it's great because you can make up some ground. But I think people find it difficult to choose in those scenarios when you haven't got like a Kane against West Brom or whatever it might be. So you're on Kane currently. I'm assuming your other targets are Gundogan and Fernandes are probably the other 2.
Yeah, it was actually... it was actually Bruno and Foden over Gundogan. I can't see myself captaining Gundogan. I think he played so well last night in the kind of deeper role. It was like a box midfield, wasn't it? Gundogan was sitting a lot with Fernandinho, and then it was almost like KDB and Foden ahead of those guys. It was like a 2-2. So I think I wouldn't be surprised to see a similar shape, although being Pep, he could see Gundogan false nine, who knows. But if I went for a City player, I do think I'd go for the explosiveness of Foden, despite him being a rotation risk. But to be fair, Andy, I don't think I'm going to go there. It will be on Kane. And if it wasn't Kane, there's a glimmer of hope for Bruno. But I do think it'll be Kane. Obviously, I'll be watching his minutes tonight, or his form and minutes. But we see people that are sort of our age, Andy. We grew up knowing that Arsenal Invincibles team, knowing Arsenal was sort of always going for the league. And we have in our heads still, I do all the time, Arsenal are like this top team. And I know I'm going to be upsetting some Arsenal fans here. But if we go off recent form, Kane this weekend does not play one of the top teams. He's playing a mid-table side. And he always scores.
I can't wait for
them.
I'd say, this year, I haven't bashed Arsenal on purpose, but I've said quite a few times they're not FPL options because they haven't been, right? Even Arsenal fans don't own Arsenal players apart from maybe Saka. And I tell you what, they always give you the worst. Arsenal fans on social media, they're going to kill you for saying that. But go on, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, like so what I'm getting at is people of our generation, Andy. We often go, oh, do I want to give Kane the armband against? Oh, not against Arsenal.
You're saying basically what you're saying is we can remember when Arsenal were good. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, giving the armband to Kane this week is exactly the same as giving him the armband against Burnley or against Villa. Like, we're talking mid-table teams here. So yeah, I'll give him the armband because it's Harry Kane, and he loves to score against Arsenal. He used to be an Arsenal fan, didn't he? There's that photo of him in an Arsenal shirt. So I think it's Kane for me. He's just so good last time out, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he is brilliant. I think, look, Arsenal aren't that team we remember like from a long time back, Vieira, if we're going back that far. But I do think, I don't think it's going to be a pushover. I don't think Arsenal are that bad. Do you worry, right? Because we've seen them go out and attack quite a bit recently with Son and Bale. Probably a little bit easier to do against the likes of Crystal Palace and Burnley. Do you think... or do you worry or have any concerns that, if Spurs get that early goal or they get the lead, right, 1-0, what do you think Jose does next? Does he attack or does he protect that lead?
Do you know, I'd like to say that he attacks, but because it's Jose, I'm always very cautious. And the reason I'd like to say attack is because if we go off recent form, we have seen a more free-flowing Spurs, and I don't think Mourinho fully trusts that centre-back pairing. At the moment, it's Alderweireld and Sanchez, but whoever plays there, if it's Dyer or Rodon, he doesn't fully trust these guys. So I always think Mourinho thinks he needs another goal. I don't think, it's not like when he was at United or Chelsea before, where 1-0, we were seeing those 1-0 victories. We don't see 1-0 wins at Spurs under Mourinho because he can't trust that back line. So he is a little bit more progressive in second halves at times when it is a 1-0 scoreline. Look, we saw against Palace. Who had Palace to score in that football match? But no, Benteke on the 45th minute comes up with that header. Mylory's clean sheet was wiped out. Loda Reguilon wiped out clean sheets. But out of nowhere, they can score. And I think Jose probably sees them as a little bit soft still. So I do think they'll attack. And I think now we're seeing the front three of Bale, Son and Kane. That's way more attacking than the front three of Kane, Son and Bergwijn, which we were seeing. Bergwijn was way deeper than Bale, for example. Might affect Son's points a little bit. Certainly affects his shots a little bit. But it suits Kane. It suits Kane very well indeed.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I feel like obviously Arsenal aren't as good, just like Man United aren't as good as they were back in the day. But I don't know. I think this one's going to be a little bit more difficult. This is their real first test though, because we can all say that Spurs have been great since Bale came in, but they have played Burnley, Fulham, Crystal Palace. That's when he started and played full games. So this is probably a truer test, and we'll see just how attacking they are. Are you concerned that Bruno Fernandes will almost definitely be over 100% effective ownership? I'm certain of that. I think he'll be the highest captain player this week, even though I think Kane is leading a few polls. I think he might be leading the poll on the Fantasy Football Scout site. I'll check in a sec. But any thoughts for Fernandes?
Yeah, I mean, it's always that sort of extra penalty appeal. I just feel like my heart says Kane. I also like the fact that Arsenal go all the way to Greece to play Olympiacos on Thursday night, Andy. Like, that's, if we're talking about Europa League fixtures, and Spurs, by the way, play at home. If we're talking about travelling, the worst place pretty much to travel is sort of your Greeces and Turkeys. Like it's sort of 4 or 5 hour flight for these guys compared to some that will just travel to a Holland or a France, a 45-minute flight. So I do consider that. Obviously, Bruno and United have got a big game in the Europa as well against Milan. I feel like West Ham have been pretty good defensively. There's that Moyes appeal against his old team. If I was to back a defence this weekend over West Ham or Arsenal, I'd be backing West Ham. So I think they've been really, really solid. So I can see that being quite a tricky game. And I remember earlier on in the season, the United-West Ham game, West Ham caused United all sorts of problems. I think Bruno actually came on at half-time. And it was that goal where the ball went over the touchline and the goal was given. And there was no VAR.
He created I wish I'd go. I keep saying it. I wish I'd go back and check. Oh, sorry, I should have gone back and checked. But it was something like 6 to 8 chances when he came on. It was mad in 45 minutes. Like it was such a crazy turnaround. So yeah, but I agree. I think West Ham defense has been great. Like especially since Dawson. I mean, they were already good, but since Dawson came in, I think they've been even better. Who would have thought that? Like Craig Dawson coming in and we know he's been fine in the past, but I think a lot of people probably thought he was past it or probably wasn't even going to start when he came in. And he's been great. So I agree. I think that is a fairly difficult fixture for us. It's just backing against the rest of the people. Like in the chat, so Adam just said Bruno will be 150% plus. He's no way he's going to be that high, I don't think. On the site right now, Fantasy Football Scout, Kane is 23.92% as the best captain, and Bruno Fernandes is 21.59%. So pretty close. Kane is very favoured against Arsenal. And then it's actually De Bruyne, but I wonder how many of those votes were swayed after last night. I don't think many people would have been saying that before last night. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. Elsewhere, we haven't even talked about transfers yet. Are you thinking about making any, or are you just rolling?
I wish I could roll, Andy. I've got 2 free transfers.
Oh, wow.
Week. Yeah, and I don't think I've ever allowed it to go. I'll always find something, right? You could use a keeper sub or something. So my plan is I've got to use one. I've got to go prep for 29. At the moment, I've got 6 players playing in 29, but I have my 2 frees and then my 1 transfer. So I'll get 9 out for 29. So what I'm thinking of doing is I don't have a bench boost left. I need to downgrade my bench anyway. Loughton will move on, who is just going to be bench fodder anyway this season. With that back line, I can't see Loughton getting too many minutes at all. So I think I'll replace Loughton. I've got 2.2 in the bank with an even cheaper defender. I'm thinking Dan Burn at 4.2, White is 4.4, Veltman 4.3. A Brighton defender. Brighton play Newcastle in 29. The Brighton defender will still be third on my bench this weekend, but I'll be using a transfer on someone playing in 29. And actually, Brighton's fixtures are pretty bad.
They're not good.
I'll just be playing this bloke for one game. Like
I'm the same
for 29. So that makes me think I should go for Burn just to save some money.
I see it now. I got Burn for that exact reason. I thought I only need them for 29. I'm actually playing him this week, but that's because I don't have a defense quite as good as yours. But I'm probably going to play him. But otherwise, it really is just for Gameweek 29, and that's it. But I do think Veltman might be worth the extra 0.1 because if you go and ask Brighton fans, like I don't think there's too much concern about Burn missing out. But between the two, if they had to choose one that definitely wasn't going to right now, I think it's going to be Veltman because I can't remember who it is now, but someone else can play left wing back, and if they go to like a 4,
is it Alzate?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean he hasn't done it much, so maybe saving the 0.1 is worth it. But Veltman's attacking numbers are pretty good, so if I was choosing again, I would go Veltman. I think.
It's all on Webster for me, Andy, because if Webster's fit, he can play the back 3 with wing backs. But without Webster, he has to play a back 4. And the wing backs, then Alzate comes into play. But I think Webster's flagged. I think he's due back in a couple of games' time. I probably need to do a little bit of digging and get something more accurate on him. But yeah, I think you could be on something there with Veltman over a Burn.
But either way, I like the move because in Game Week 29, that looks about as nailed as clean sheet as any of the fixtures, to be honest. Probably the most nailed one, I would say. So if Loughton is going to, let's say Veltman or Burn, what's the second? Are you going to use second transfer or are you just going to roll it?
Yeah, definitely roll in. I've already got a benching headache. The last thing I want to do is bring in a better player than I've currently got because it'll just cause all sorts of problems. So no, I'll roll. And then that allows me to go into Game Week 29 with the 2 frees, which was always the plan because I'm going to have to do something quite big there maybe. I might take Bruno out for a week or 2. I'm probably going to have to sell some of my Man City players. So those two moves are planned for 29. The plan was always Grealish, Andy, because I like the fact that Villa have got the extra fixture they're due against Everton, so they'll get a double game week. But at the moment, we can't bring Grealish in. I think he's ruled out against Newcastle as well. So the plan was Foden to Grealish, and I've got the money to do it. But maybe that move happens next week.
Okay, so yeah, let's say just put you on the spot. Let's say Grealish is still injured, because I think he will be. I think this is one of those injuries where they know it's longer, they just don't want to say for whatever reason. I could be right. It was a bit like Pogba last year when he kept coming back. He's going to be back soon. Oh, now he's re-injured. Let's say Grealish isn't there. Have you got any thought, not necessarily about who you're taking out, but which two players you're looking to kind of target to bring in? Any ideas yet? Apart from obviously the Brighton defender this week.
Yeah, no, for sure. One guy I want for the rest of the season is and someone that plays in 29 is Saka. I'm a big fan of Saka. Like, I know I've slated Arsenal a little bit, but a lot will go for Aubameyang for 29 because he could be the captaincy shout, or because he's explosive and so expensive. But for me, you can have Aubameyang, or for half the price, you can have Saka. And when you look at the numbers, there's not a huge amount in it. And I'm just a big Saka fan. I quite want him there. He could sit on my bench when he needs to. But again, they've got some nice fixtures. So I think Saka's one that could come in. I also like Jesse Lingard because I can't get to Antonio. Having West Ham cover, yes, they play in the blank and they've got a lot to play for. I could go Lingard in that midfield. I could go Lingard and Saka. I can't see myself getting Antonio because I don't want to sell any of those forwards. Two of them already play in the blank. And then that third spot, DCL, I don't really want to sell if Everton are going to go and get a double game week in 30 or 31 or whenever. We don't know yet when that double comes. But for that reason, I don't want to sell DCL. And also, they've got good fixtures, Everton. Does mean I go into that blank again without Bamford. Like, everyone is going to have Bamford in 29. I'm probably not. But I feel like Rafinha, if given the choice, I'd go Rafinha all day long. Unless I could have both, which I would like for the blank, I wouldn't have Bamford at the expense of Rafinha.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because if I only had to pick one, it was always Bamford until last week where I picked Rafinha. And I gotta be honest, I watched that West Ham game and I don't know how I came away without getting punished, because Rafinha should have got points, absolutely, but so should Bamford. Yeah. So I think you're in 29. You're definitely going to be. He's going to be so highly owned as well. I think that's the one player. But obviously there'll be other players that you have that others don't. So it's just a case of just crossing your fingers at that point. I think if you've got like 9-10 players, then you should be absolutely fine. So yeah, team looking good. That one Brighton transfer, and then we'll see what you do with the two next week. So there'll be a lot of people wondering, what moves to make next week. So it should be interesting.
Just looking at it, Andy, I could go Bamford to DCL for a 1 week punt, and then instead of bringing DCL back, I could bring in a Richarlison, who at the moment I prefer. So maybe come game week 29, I do have Bamford. I'm just thinking, I don't know if I want to go without him for 29, and I think there'll be quite a few that will be bold enough to give him the armband with that fixture.
It's definitely. I think you might get away with it, because I think a lot of people will go Kane. I just think, even though it's Villa, I think a lot of people will go there. So the fact that he's not captained, you might not be punished. So yeah, obviously it's definitely worth rolling and thinking about it next week and not doing it this week, because Calvert-Lewin against Burnley is a pretty good fixture at the moment. Burnley aren't playing well at all. So yeah, we'll talk about that again next week and see where you go. Just before we go, I will talk quickly about my Fantasy 5 picks, just to show you how easy it is. So once you're on the page, like I said, link in the description below if you want to check it out. It's completely free. Newcastle versus Villa, there is I don't care how low the points are for Newcastle players, I'm not going there at all. So I'm actually going to go for a Villa defender, because I just think the clean sheet is locked. And yes, they have to get 6.5 points or more, so you're looking for an attack and return. But I think I'm going to go for Konza, always a goal threat. I just think it's about as nailed as clean sheet as you can get at the moment. The second game is your boys, Leeds versus Chelsea. Timo Werner is just. I feel like I'm going to go the whole season saying this could be the week. This could be the week. I think it's him or Mason Mount. The fact that Mount got rested makes me kind of tempted to go for him. He's on 7.
Go Mount or Havertz, Andy.
Not Werner. You don't think he'll start?
He should do.
I feel like it's the perfect game against Leeds. I'm going to go with my man Werner. I'm just going to back him every week until he finally returns. But I might change that to Mount before the deadline. You can change your decisions once they're made. But yeah, I think Chelsea not scoring a huge amount of goals, but looking pretty solid. And I think if they're going to get chances, then It's always Leeds. That's always a good fixture.
Yeah.
West Brom versus Palace. Again, I feel like I have to go for a defender, but I'm not convinced many of them are going to be that attacking. So I might actually look for the striker. What's Diagne? Yeah, Diagne. 2 returns he would have to get. What do you reckon about that against Palace? I mean, Palace are bad. Zaha's back though.
Zaha is back, but they still looked bad, didn't they? He came on second half and changed things a little bit. But no, Palace looked bad defensively. This is the worst I can remember Palace defensively for a long time. Under Roy Hodgson, I don't remember a time when they were that poor. Barely had any clean sheets this season. So yeah, I'd go for Diagne. I think he's big physical presence up top. Everything will go towards him, won't they? They'll be putting a lot of balls in.
Yeah, actually, I'm going for him. And everyone in the chat pointed out that I said Werner and selected Abraham. I've changed it, but I can change it anyway afterwards, so don't panic. But yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Everton versus Burnley. Again, I'm kind of thinking towards Luca Dean. 8.5, so he would just need 1 attack and return plus the clean sheet. I'm just going to put him in. I'm backing your team here. I think, like your FPL team, I think he looks good this week. And then Man City versus Fulham. Like I can't, like Maja 6.5. You'd have to get 2 attacking returns against City. I just don't see it. Rodri is back. Oh, sorry, Rodri should play. I should say, not back. Yeah. And Foden. If I thought Foden was going to start, I'd absolutely back him. I'm going to put Foden in for now. I'm going to take your confidence that he might start again. 9.5 points. So you would need 2 attacking returns, but really quickly, right? Because I know you have to go. How do you see that game going? Like, do you see City getting a lot of goals? Because everyone's talking about the Fulham defence and kind of ignoring the fact that Man City are the best attack in the league.
I absolutely love the Fulham defence, and I went with Areola a few weeks back, and it's been brilliant. But I don't think we can forget they are playing a team on another level. When City click, doesn't matter who's playing. Like, let's not pretend here. The Fulham defence has been good, but it's still Fulham, right? I can see City scoring 3 or 4 goals comfortably. If they score 1 early, it'll be 3 or 4.
Good start. Okay, I'm gonna go for a City attacker. Absolutely, I'm gonna stick Foden in for now, and that is it. All you got to do, make your picks, click confirm, and that is it. If you get all 5 picks, then you win 10 grand. Unless 3 people get it, I think they have to share it, but still, a few grand for free. What's not to like? So, link in the description. A few people asking in the chat how you get to it, what app it is. It's literally that link below, Fantasy 5, and you can make your picks. And if you think they're better than mine, that's absolutely fine. Go for it and see what you think. We'll leave it there. So just to reconfirm, Captain Kane almost certainly, because Gianni said that Arsenal are one of the worst teams in the league. And then Lowton to a Brighton defender, which I think is a great move. Yeah, thanks for joining me.
Good stuff. Thank you, mate. Look forward to checking in again next week. And hopefully I'm not punished with that really strong bench of Target and Rafinha, but surely one of them comes in. So yeah, we'll see where we're at.
Yeah, I think you're looking solid again after that bench boost wildcard. Looking really good. If you've enjoyed it, please do give it a like, hit subscribe if you're new around here, and we will catch you again tomorrow for the team.